Hello and welcome, my name is Kyle. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Let's Play 80 Days. It's day 34, we've just arrived in Agra, and unfortunately all we can do is stay in a hotel. We are going to be able to complete our seafaring set, which will be nice. With what remained of the day, yeah, let's heal up Fogg here a little bit. Anytime I go walking around, it seems I get in trouble. Let's explore since it's pretty early in the morning. So let's see, we get routes over to Calcutta, which is what we want. The perambulatory city of Agra was itself a wonder. The Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan had wished to build a monument to his great love, Mumtaz, and instead of a mere building, had commissioned a roving city. The vast white granite magnificence of the Taj Mahal perched on the plateau atop its jointed, fortified legs. There were 6 gouges in the ground. To the west and east, Agra's habitual orbit was hewn into the earth itself. Her sovereignty was a contested matter. The British had laid claim to her, but she passed through independent territories on her peregrinations. Her power source was an enduring mystery. Or how can one claim to own a city, which moves from place to place? Let's look at the power source. One which still befuddled the various European engineers who made her their life's work. As for me, I would not chain such a marvel with the notions of state or government. Agra was a creature unto herself, a living city who owed her living to no one. We boarded Agra at noon. She would begin walking to Calcutta when the sun set, taking us with her on her unvarying circuit. So we can just take the city to Calcutta. That is awesome. Yeah, and then we'll go to Chittagong to get to Hong Kong. Alright, so back to Agra. Let's look at the market. So is this the, yeah, so we want to get this. So what am I going to sell? I'm going to sell these pants. Pick up the safety harness. Zoetrope. Well, we might be able to get this to Hong Kong. Because we're going to be taking the whole city, which lets us take 7. And then I don't know what's going to be available from Calcutta to Chittagong. But if it's a 3 thing, you know, I might even pay for it. Because then we'll go to Hong Kong, I think. So we'll need another case as well. Yeah. Alright, so yeah, now we're going to get out on the boats. So we can just stay here. It's going to take almost a week to get there. I think it's what I want to do, though. Like, we just stay on the city, though, right? I'm just going to stay in a hotel and just see what happens. As night fell, I afforded my master every service. Yep. Just trying to get him healed up. Alright. Oh no, so we did waste a day. Okay, let's go ahead and leave. I figured, so the city always moved, but apparently not. So we're going to lose 20, but because of the linen trousers, we get 15 back, which is nice. This reminds me of Howl's Moving Castle. You know, it's kind of the same idea, right? If you haven't seen that, by the way, you totally should. One of the Scarlet Cloak city officials rang a brass bell. Answering tolls echoed from all corners of the city of Agra. While the sound still echoed in my ears, the city lurched underneath me. The oh man, let me try that again. While the sound still echoed in my ears, the city lurched underneath me, tilting first to the left, then abruptly to the right. We were off. The walking city had begun its circuit. I felt rattled and jarred by the motion. It was enough to make a man think fondly of the pitch and roll of a clipper on the high seas, my friends. Let's talk to Fogg here. Oh no, we're going to talk to the navigator. I have one of the city's 7 great navigators. Let's talk about Calcutta to Chittagong. I hear you can reach Chittagong from Calcutta. Speaking of steamships, I understand one can sail aboard the Dark Queen from Burlington to New Orleans, but it's slow going. Okay. You want to drink some Darjeeling tea? Perhaps a cup of Earl Grey, Madame la Navigator. I don't mind if I do. Let's talk about New Orleans. So, you can obtain wax cylinders described with music in New Orleans you can sell for a profit in Atlanta. Okay. Wouldn't mind going to New Orleans. It's a near and dear place to me. It's not my hometown, but very close to my hometown. I don't live in Louisiana anymore, but I often try to get back to New Orleans whenever I do visit. Yeah, I don't really. Let's see. So we're going to be going west to east across the United States, seems like. Let's talk about New Orleans to Miami. Is there a route? No idea, but I do know some buyers will pay well for zoetropes from Miami. Alright, let's talk about Miami. Yeah. Kind of went a weird route there, but that's fine. Truth be told, the sound was more difficult to accustom myself to than Agra's multi-jointed gait. Her granite-clad feet pounded into the earth with enormous, shuddering crashes that could be heard even from our rarefied station. I looked over the edge, at the verdant fields and forests below, interrupted by little thatched villages and larger brick-building towns, which wreathed themselves in black smoke. The grand trunk road snaked ahead of us towards the horizon. I felt like a giant. The earth seemed to unroll itself for my inspection. Farmers and horses and cows below seemed pale and unreal and altogether insignificant. In that moment, only I was solid. Only I was real. Thankfully, the moment passed quickly. But I did not soon return to the railing. A man thought strange thoughts perched atop a migrating city with an engine for a heart. The writing in this game is just so good. I love it. Let's talk to Fogg. My master and I took a turn about the top deck as we passed within sight of Allahabad, marveling at the glistening white marble edifice of the Taj Mahal. Let's look at Allahabad. On our right-hand side, through the trees, we could just see the gleam of the railway line, which appeared to end rather abruptly. A photographer had set up a booth on the lawn and was doing a brisk trade, taking ferrotypes of families posing in front of the magnificent monument. It was so quick. He developed, fixed, varnished, and handed the ferrotype to the customer in a matter of minutes. He glanced over at me appraisingly. Photograph, he asked, in passable French. 10 pounds. Mais oui. I agreed, and then glanced at Monsieur Fogg. I invited him to join me in the picture. But I did not ask him. Yeah, let's ask him. He glanced at the photographic apparatus with evident suspicion, and then, at my hopeful expression, "Very well," he said shortly. I stared at him, mouth agape, for a full 20 seconds. I had not imagined that he would agree. We posed beside each other as the photographer made his equipment ready. I could barely keep the grin from my face. There was a blinding flash of white light, and by the time my vision had returned to normal, the ferrotype was already being pressed into my hands. A handsome article. In some light, I can almost see the barest hint of a smile upon my master's lips. I tucked the ferrotype into my pocket, and we continued about our promenade. So our funds went down a little, but hey, we got our photo taken with Monsieur Fogg. Check out the news real quick. I was taking a small digestive walk after a substantial breakfast when I saw a young lady in a bright pink sari and yellow lens goggles pitch herself over the outer railings. I leapt across the deck and immediately entangled myself in some coils of rope which toppled me onto the railings in a cursing, unceremonious heap. I peered over the edge, bracing myself for a traumatic sight. But the woman waved at me cheerfully, suspended from the railing by a length of thick hemp rope knotted about her waist. I collapsed to my knees in mingled relief and terror. I am a sound fellow, but some things are not meant to be seen. The woman sought me out at luncheon, by which time I was much recovered, and she introduced herself as Dia. "Mademoiselle Dia," I bowed. "A pleasure to make your acquaintance." She laughed in surprise. "Your manners are very fancy." "I thought we'd lost you earlier," I remarked. "You gave me a terrible fright." She grinned. "I must admit, I waited for you to show up before I jumped." "An excellent performance." I could not fault her theatrics. She bowed. "I'll make it up to you. Agra is a big city, and all the good stuff is below decks. I'll take you down tomorrow if you want to do more than sightseeing." She swept away into the crowd, leaving me to contemplate her challenge over my meal. All right, so how do we do that? That's what I want to do. Come on. Of course, Yeah, I'm going below decks. I am a man who cannot resist a challenge. Daya told me some of the history and layout as we descended a series of stairs of increasing ricketiness. The upper deck was devoted to the Taj Mahal, or I followed until we reached a stop. My guide raised her hand. The sound of the engines was vibrating up through the floor. The walls here were highly polished, inlaid with jasper and a sharp calligraphy. Then she opened a pair of car doors, saying with grave ceremony, "Welcome to the lower city." I blinked my eyes against the light, and as they adjusted, I saw where we were. We had come to a township built within the echoing bowels of the city, complete with shops and residences and even children playing games on the street, though these children tossed adjustable spanners and brass rings. A child threw a ring at my feet and slyly approached. As I reached out to hand it back, the ring I saw was old and engraved with measurements. "A kneecap," Daya said. "We go through 5 or 6 every decade." Daya was clearly a well-known figure and introduced me to her fellow lower city folk with great pride. Almost everyone wore tool belts and yellow lens goggles. "So," she asked, turning on the spot with hands outstretched, "what do you think of my home, Frenchman?" "It is a fantastic, hidden world," I declared. "I would not have dreamed such a place existed beneath the parks of the upper deck." Daya nodded at my response, as if turning it over in her mind. "The truth is, I think that all cities have a below decks, my friend. Agra's is just more obvious, or less, depending." There was something hidden in her tone, I thought. She smiled weakly. "Don't worry, Passepartout," she murmured. "I'm not going to eat you." "Madam, I—" But before I could finish my thought, the bells rang out for our stop. The room around me exploded into controlled chaos. Brass-goggled men and women pulled enormous levers, threw open iron gates, and shouted instructions at each other in a storm of languages. The city lurched to a halt, and the great heart stilled. We had arrived at our destination, the British city of Calcutta. I never saw Daya again. Wow, so that was kind of cool. Several of our possessions could earn well here. All right, well, let's see what we got. I'm not selling that because I want the heavy storm set. I definitely want to get that to So there's another part of the wardrobe set, the American wardrobe set. Oh look, we have our photo. That's so cool. Let's see. I wouldn't mind getting these cowboy boots. I'm gonna get them. We might have to sell some stuff later, but we'll hang on to it for now. All right, and let's explore. Can we leave yet? I don't think we can leave. Like if I wanted to get to Chittagong, it departs in 2 days and arrives Sunday, and that's definitely what I want to do. So let's explore, see what routes we can find out of Calcutta. Calcutta was an industrial city which had built its wealth on opium, textiles, and indigo, but that was not to say it was uncultured. I'm a big chai tea fan, so the chai shops which I passed by were all thronged with affluent babus and bahenjis discussing poetry and literature, the sticky subject of Indian independence. It seemed there was discontent brewing, or it seemed a natural outcome of events, yeah. And I said as much to be loudly shouted down by several pro-British voices, who in turn were shouted down by those fervently in favor of self-rule. It was certainly a thorny issue, and I wondered if we'd be able to avoid all consequences of it. "Where is the most dangerous right now?" I asked, and a woman nodded. "I hear the mountains to the east are teeming with separatists," she declared. "They mean to attack Chittagong." I returned quickly to Monsieur Fogg. All right, so that's where we're going, to Chittagong. But that was a hint that we could get into some trouble there. Before turning in for the night, I'm going to try this again, even though it never goes well. I went out to explore a little and entered into discussion with a charming Gujarati soldier who had lost a purse I helped to find, and who then told me that some buyers will pay well for magnetic compasses from Singapore. I assured him we were unlikely to head that way. No, I thanked him. He smiled and went about his day, because I think we are going to go to Singapore. All right. We still can't leave, right? Because we have to wait till tomorrow. So we just have to stay. So right at the halfway point of the journey, we took a room and settled in, and I attended to Monsieur Fogg. Let's just get him healed up as much as possible. Perfect. All right. And now we're going to Chittagong. See, look, now we're going to come out actually ahead because of the sea gear we have, and we still get to keep our 3 suitcases, which is nice. Taking the SS Thunder of the Apcar shipping line on its way to Hong Kong via Singapore. But the smokestacks barely had time to steam off their morning dew before we were approaching Chittagong to pick up more laborers. We made a full stop. Amongst the mill of passengers disembarking, we spotted Captain Chalmers from Quetta, but he was too busy with his men to notice. We disembarked and made our way into town. Alright, so let's explore Chittagong. Find a route to Gawashia, it looked like. Chittagong has been under British control for over 100 years, but still I felt the hostility of the Bengalis as they fetched our bags, served us tea and smile. Mr. Fogg remained characteristically ignorant of their anger. It had probably not occurred to him that his boarders were even capable of such feelings. It was an odd sensation to be hated so impersonally, and so I took pains to be courteous to the natives of the city, but it had little effect on the tamped-down rage nestled in the corners of their mouths. More prosaically, we had been instructed to visit the visa office. So I hired a mechanical palanquin, much like the one we had taken along the Grand Trunk Road, and I was quite happily enjoying the tour when a thundering explosion rocked the city to the west. So yeah, here we go. This is probably the uprising we've been hearing about. The streets flooded with soldiers and citizens rolling in an uneasy mass. I leapt out of the palanquin, my curiosity overriding other instincts. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the spiral of smoke rising above the police armory, on the roof of which a man in a pristine white kurta performed a crisp military salute and raised a green, white, and red flag, the flag of the Indian nationalists. The people around me began to scream their support, and hundreds of white leaflets fell from the sky. I seized the leaflet, conveniently printed in both English and Bengali. The revolutionaries declared themselves to be the Indian Republican Army and announced their intention to seize the police armory, but also disrupt the railway and telegraph office. The oil smoke in the air and continuous explosions indicated the success of their mission. It seemed the revolutionaries had effectively cut off Chittagong. We were trapped, and the city would, I feared, soon be ablaze. So my relationships have deteriorated slightly, but my character is now polished. So this was something that maybe, I should have been aware of, but I kind of wanted to push through anyway to kind of just see what happened. I really want to get to Singapore, but I guess I don't have this route yet. That's Rocket Sauce, apparently another player. He has right around where I am with about half as much money as me. I can't get to Singapore, apparently. Not yet, at least. So let's go back here. So do I have to go here? That arrives tomorrow. Is that all I have? Is just that one route? Am I reading this correctly? Sometimes the UI of this game kind of confuses me, I'll be honest. All of you watching are probably very aware of that. Alright. I'm going to stay another night in Chittagong. Nighttime in Chittagong was not quiet. As soon as the sun went down, the streets echoed with shouts and cries, the stirring of the revolution. I'm not going outside. I watched from our window and fancied I saw the distant flicker of flames, but Monsieur Fogg went promptly to his bed, declaring, "The British will keep control of the situation, I am certain. Had he forgotten this afternoon's events already? How could a gentleman's memory be so short? Alright. So yeah, we're going to have to go to Yadanaban. We can't take the... can't get to Singapore. I guess because they closed it off. So I don't know how these players are doing that. All right. So let's go to Yadanaban. It's not what I wanted to do, but we gotta make progress. And Chittagong is cut off by the revolution. The British army had closed down Chittagong's port and set up pickets which prevented travelers from leaving the city. Luckily for us, the colonial governor had made an exception for Monk, but no tyrant tyrannizes all. Yeah, let's check this out. And this governor's weakness was for the religious class, so he had allowed a caravan of monks to proceed on their way to the Burmese royal capital of Yadanaban for the 5th Buddhist Synod. An admirably self-serving decision, given the uprising. Interfering with the peaceful monks' religious practice would only inflame the unrest further and perhaps even push tense British relations with the Kingdom of Burma into yet another war. Uncharacteristically, it was my master rather than I who had convinced the monks to grant us passage with them. I confess myself surprised by the magnificence of their transport. I'm not going to ask Fogg for a day off because he will not like that. A small fleet of carriages drawn by pairs of gilded leogriffs, chintas, which belched steam from their jaws. I glanced at my master as we settled into our seats. "Are you sure they are monks?" I asked. A dry laugh interrupted whatever response Monsieur Fogg was about to make, as a Burmese monk of middle years climbed in. "The carriages were sent by the King of Burma. They do not belong to us," he explained. We began to jolt our way out of the city. We own no material goods. "Then how do you eat and clothe yourself?" I wondered aloud. Monsieur Fogg stiffened slightly beside me, no doubt thinking my open query rude. "We find that people are generous," he allowed, "and we are not averse to hard labor." And so, with such conversation, we left the burning town of Chittagong behind us. Let's see if we can talk to this guy here. We just get to talk to the driver. Let's talk about where we're headed. "What can you tell me of Yadanaban?" "Yadanaban is the royal capital of the Kingdom of Burma." Let's talk about Manila. "Is there a route to Yadanaban to Manila?" "Maybe, but some buyers will pay well for cowboy boots from Manila." What else we got here? Oh, a port. "It's possible to go from Yadanaban to Port Moresby." "Please, monsieur, I must go, but I hope we will talk again." All right. So we didn't really find out anything. The monks in our carriage began to chant in Sanskrit as the sun moved across the sky. I half drowsed to the calming rhythm of their voices, listened captivated by the sound, or tried to stopper my ears with my sock. I probably would find it soothing. Only waking up when our carriage drew to a halt in the royal city of Yadanaban, overlooked by the hill of Mandalay. All right. We will have to sleep here and explore in the morning. All right, well, it's day 42. I think that's a perfect time to stop this video. So we'll resume our journey here the next time. But thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all next time.